Hello, good morning, everybody. Thanks for taking your time out this morning to be here with us today. We're really excited to have the opportunity to kind of give you a little tour through the Aladtec scheduling software. Um, my name is Kelsey McCarty. I'm a solutions consultant here at Aladtec. So I work pre-sale, working with customers who are looking to move to the platform, and we'll build out systems and work with you directly to help you understand how to make this system work best for you. Today I'm joined by Anthony Jackson. Anthony is with our support team. He's one of our senior support specialists, and he'll be manning the Q&A for today. So you can feel free to input questions into the questions chat box, and he will be there to help answer those questions. We've both been with Aladtec for many, many years, so we're definitely pretty versed and really excited to be able to share our knowledge with you today. Just to draw attention to this, we do offer free TCP Aladtec trials, and it's certainly this is something that you can do yourself as well. So there's no commitment necessarily. You are able to go to our website and elect to participate in a generic demo of your own, so you can play with it. And we do offer customized trials as well. So part of my world is working with customers who are interested in the product and building custom systems with your own rosters and schedules to really give you that full immersive experience to make sure that the platform is exactly what you're looking for. So if that's something that you were interested in, that is available to you as well, and there's also no cost associated with that. All right, looking ahead today, the game plan for today is going to be walking through the Aladtec system. We're going to look at things like our member database, schedule views, our customizable forms tool, reports, and there's obviously some more different functionality in there as well that we're going to cover. If you have any questions, as I mentioned, please feel free to type those into the chat, and we will do our best to get everything answered for you or follow up with you after the system show today. So moving forward, I'm going to go ahead and pull up the generic Aladtec system for you guys. It is important to note that the system we're looking at today is a completely fake system. So this is fake people, fake schedules. This will be set up in a way that's consistent with more of a dispatch or communication center type build, but there is no actual valid person information. This will be mocked up with fake people. So as we walk into the Aladtec system here, some of the important key takeaways here are going to be that this is a 100% cloud-based solution. So as we look at the full site view of this today, we are actually logged into a URL that is specific to this test system. So as a prospect or a customer, you would actually have a URL that was specific to your department. Now there is no mobile application that needs to be downloaded from an app store. There is a mobile-friendly view of the Aladtec site. So most frequently our members say to us that they are using this in mobile on a cell phone or a tablet. You will have the ability to add a shortcut link, so you'll have that tile for Aladtec, that one-touch access from your cell phone. It's just going to launch the mobile-friendly view of the site. So an important distinction, none of your information is housed on personal devices. You don't have to have people keep things up to date and maintained on their phone. It'll just work for you. As we look at the system here, kind of from that scheduler or admin perspective is the approach we're going to kind of take for starters here. So as someone who is responsible for scheduling staff or maintaining the system, there's going to be a main space here that's important to you specifically, and that's going to be the dashboard here. This is person specific, depending upon who's logged in, and it's going to be kind of that 1,000-foot view of everything that's going on with your people. It's going to centralize information for you, give you some actionable items that you can work on and process from here, and some information that's just general communication. So things like your next few upcoming shifts if you're a scheduled employee, or if there's events on calendars that you're a part of, or if somebody's put out a trade that you're eligible to pick up, or maybe there's discussion activity on our discussions tab that hasn't been read. So that's some great communication options. But additionally, you guys will see things like change requests, and these are going to be items coming from your staff that require approval or denial before they're finalized to your schedule. So things like people trading shifts, or signing up for vacant shifts on your schedule, or requesting time off. These items are going to be actionable, and you're going to have the ability to click on these and approve or deny those right from this space. And all of these are going to have some bonus functionality tied to them. They're going to have the ability to impact your schedule. So if we're putting somebody on time off and approving that, it's going to pull them off the schedule for you. If we're approving something like a sign up, we're going to have the option to go ahead and approve that sign up, maybe even add some different labels to that time. So if we need to identify this as overtime being paid, or maybe somebody has said, I want comp time for this, we can use time types to indicate those sorts of things here. And once we approve that sign up, it's going to put the person on the schedule for you as well. And then finally, if we're talking about trades in Aladtec, you're going to have a few different trade types you can do, and there's going to be control over the rules that go with those. So Aladtec can handle trades as a giveaway, where we're just dropping a shift, or we can do swaps, where it's a 1-for-1. And you can place rules on that. Hey, these need to be repaid within the same time frame or the same pay period. Maybe they have to be for the same number of hours. And qualifications always play a role here too. So if you're giving up a shift, you're only going to be able to offer it to people that are equally qualified to take that shift. And once we do things like approve this, it's actually going to flip the people on the schedule for you. And all of these are going to give notification capabilities to your staff. So if they want to know, what was the outcome of that trade request? Did I get my time off? Did I get that shift? The act of approving or denying those items is actually going to trigger notification capabilities right to your staff to keep them in the loop with what happened. You're also going to have the ability to track certifications and licenses in the Aladtec space. There's some really neat functionality with this that kind of coincides beyond just a bookkeeping tool. You're going to be able to customize the information you would like to collect. And if you have expiration dates when things are lapsing, you can have the system tell you not only when something is expired, but when it's expiring in the near future. And you get to set what that prior notification window looks like. So 60 days for this particular item, 120 for this other day or this other item. You're going to be able to flex this to meet the needs of your department. There will be notification options associated with this for supervisory staff and the employees so that people know where things are at. And you do have the ability to inhibit scheduling if it's appropriate. So if something lapses, do you need the system to give you a warning? Or do you need to make sure an admin has one extra click to say, I'm aware of this and it's okay to schedule this person? Or do you need a hard stop in place? This is going to give you that extra security measure to make sure you're staffing the right people who are appropriately qualified based on the licenses and certificates they should be carrying. Looking ahead at our member database, this is going to be the repository that houses all of your member information. So as I mentioned, these are all fake people with fake do not reply emails, things like that. But this information is completely editable, and you get to decide what's going to exist in those profiles to begin with. So we do have access to a configurator out here that's going to let you build the fields you want to see exist inside your member profiles. You can certainly click on these items and make adjustments from this space. You can also go into a member profile and edit inside their actual profile. You will have editing capabilities and filtering capabilities back here. So if we want to look at a subset of information, maybe we want to look at certification and license information. You can change your view with preset filters to look at different subsets of info. You can even customize this. Like if this got you pretty close, but you said, you know what, I really wish that their email was in here. We can pick and choose from all the fields that exist and pull in additional pieces of information. You can then export or print this. So if you ever needed a roster or you wanted to treat your certification tracking as kind of a reporting capacity, you can get this information out of the system via print or an export into Excel. You will be able to manage your staff. So if we need to add new people into the Aladtec system, it's a quick matter of first name, last name, username, and an email address, and the bare minimum, and you can kick this invite out to your staff to log in for the first time. So no big tickets, no support requirement to get new people added or get people access. It's a quick two-minute process to get that accommodated for you. You'll be able to inactivate staff. So if people leave the service, you can set them to an inactive status. It'll pull them off of the schedules moving forward. It'll stop things like vacation accruals if they are automatically accruing time off in the Aladtec space. And it will move them out of your active member list. They will not have access to the system anymore. But the beauty here is if we have people that leave and come back, you have the ability to reactivate an inactive profile. So if we need to bring somebody back into the department, it's a really quick change of status and you don't have to recreate the wheel necessarily. Now to look at some different subsets of information here and take a peek inside those profiles themselves. If I go into my profile here, as an admin, I'm going to have complete editing capability back here. Some of this grays out at a member level. So you will see, for example, that in a member profile, they're not going to be able to change things like an access level or a work group. That's defining things like their access and editing capability through the system. It's also not going to allow them to make changes to things like their pay period, any of that kind of information. We'll house messaging information. So the system does have text messaging and email capabilities through multiple different options here. There is mass messaging or individual messaging through the member database as well. So if you need to send a quick text or email to somebody, you can do that. And everybody has notification preferences. So those items that members might want to get updated on, they're going to be able to select how and when they would like to receive those messages. But you as an admin have the ability to control coverage alerts or paging for open shifts and member expiration data, so that certification or license data. These will gray out at a member level and they can't change them. And you guys will walk away with the assurance that if you're paging for shift coverage, you know that your messages are going out. As a supervisor, you also have the ability to set up notifications about the people you schedule. So for example, if you were in charge of a certain subgroup of people, we can set up things like work groups to create groups of your people. And you can say, if somebody signs up for a shift, I want to get a text message outside the system. I want to know about that faster. Maybe if somebody takes some time off, you want an email confirmation of that as well for records. You can pick and choose what those different types of notifications look like should you want to get those. All of your staff will have qualifications for schedules and positions. These play a big role throughout the Aladtec space. This is how you're going to do things like cross-qualify people. So let's say, for example, you've got dispatchers, but you've got 4 or 5 different consoles that people can fill in at, or seats or desk assignments. If those were existing positions in the system, you would qualify people for the different desks or consoles that people are allowed to work. And that's what's going to allow you to be able to shift people around into the appropriate places. That'll be your safety mechanism too, to make sure you're not scheduling people in places they shouldn't be working. That'll come in handy for actually building your schedule for what people are seeing for open shifts throughout the system. They won't see things they're not qualified for. And if your members are swapping shifts with each other, it'll prevent them from offering shifts to people that aren't qualified to take the shift they're giving up. So it's really going to be a great accountability tool for you. And then everything else, like I mentioned, is completely customizable. So whatever details you want to house in this space, it's completely up to you. Taking a peek at the schedules here, we're going to load into what we call our monthly calendar view. This is just one of several views throughout the system. Every member in the system, administrator, based on their access level, will have the ability to view different types of schedule views. So a monthly view is definitely intended to be that high level view that's going to have probably the least degree of information. But if we're used to things like a daily roster, we can switch over to a daily summary view that's going to give you a really great roster breakdown of what people are doing. You can look at things like a weekly shift view. That's going to allow you to look at schedules over the course of the week and see who is scheduled in those spaces on a longer time frame. You will always have the ability to filter and edit in all of these spaces. So if there are schedules displaying that aren't relevant to you, you can always come through and turn off the items that you don't want to see. Maybe you're a supervisor over days and it's really only beneficial for you to be looking at days for the starter here. You can limit that view down to just 1 or 2 schedules. It is completely customizable. And you can create filters as well. So if you're used to looking at a certain subset, you can actually create a schedule that'll appear on a dropdown so that the proper options for your preference will load each time. Things like those signups, trades, time off, those are all going to appear on your monthly schedule or whichever schedule view you're looking at. And anytime we see this green A on the schedule, it's something that's pending administrator approval. So that's one of those items waiting for your action. We can certainly click on these from here, review the details of this, and if we're okay with it, go ahead and approve that. And what's going to happen is the schedule is going to update. And now we're going to see here that Joe Burns is working for Leon Gregory, and Joe is now on the schedule. We can always backtrack details so we can see exactly when it was requested, who it went to, who approved it with a date and timestamp. And that's going to be the same for things like vacation requests. You're always going to have the ability to see exact details associated with these requests once they're approved. So transparency is key. We can add things like notes to schedules. So if there's a training event and we want to identify specific details of what's going on for that event itself, we can add notes. And we've got minimum staffing. So if you're used to having a requirement for a minimum number of people on per shift, or maybe there's a requirement to have somebody with a certain certification or license on shifts, you can actually build these things into the system. And if you violate your own minimum staffing, the system's going to tell you you don't have the quantity of people you said you needed between these hours. So in this case, between 1,400 and 2,200, we're down 1 person from our minimum. This is going to help you draw attention to shortcomings like that on the schedule. Anytime we see purple shifts, these are going to be open shifts. So anytime we have open shifts, you're going to potentially want or need to page coverage out to people. So anytime we see these, you will see a send coverage alert, and this is your coverage alert tool. So we can go through and look at all of the positions for the day, and anything that's open is going to be something you can identify. And the system's going to already know, based on those member database qualifications, who's allowed to work the evening schedule in the position as a supervisor. So it already knows who's qualified and who's physically available. This is going to be all the people who are not working or not on time off. And we can even override that if we need to. What'll happen here is you can then trigger a message out to your staff, letting them know that there's a vacancy at the department that you're looking for coverage for. So they will get a hyperlink that they can follow to then log into the system and sign up for that open shift. They can get those via text message too. So you'll see a shorter message in a text, but it's going to provide them the crucial information about that opening and then ask them to log in and sign up for that shift. Once those are done, the result of that is going to be that we're going to have people that sign up for that shift. And you can either allow these to go through first come, first serve, or you can let them stack so that you can take a moment to pause and decide who's the best person to get that shift. So in this case, we can see that both Tim and Kelsey signed up for the evening supervisor position. We could certainly use timestamps as a record if we wanted to approve the person that signed up first, but my preferred workflow here is to do this inside the hourly editor. And that's where day-to-day changes happen. So if we hover over the schedule and go to edit schedule, we can see the 24-hour breakdown of that schedule. As we look through the page here, we're seeing the evening schedule, and the lower half of the screen is whoever is qualified for the position that I have indicated here. So we can see this group of people here. If I were to flip to a dispatcher spot, you're going to see that list of people update to the people that are qualified for this position on the schedule. And when we see those signups in here, you're going to have the ability to pull in additional pieces of information here in this calculator section to help guide your decision about who to approve. So things like regular time in terms of how many hours they have, how many overtime hours they have, are there grant hours? What are their total hours? Is there a hire date that plays a role here? Or if you have a specific rotational overtime list, when you take an overtime shift, you roll to the bottom of that list and it's date based. You can create fields for that sort of thing too. And when you go through here, once you've made your decision, use your details here to help guide that decision. When we go ahead and process this sign up, we can do things like label it as overtime if we need to. And the act of approving it is actually going to populate that person to the schedule with a label for overtime. And you'll notice that that other sign up cleared because that's no longer needed. This will also trigger notifications to your staff so they know if they got that shift or not. Very clear communication, just a couple clicks to take care of all of that for you. So the rest of this is drag and drop as well. So for example, if Elaine Pratt had called in sick, we can actually submit time off on her behalf and get her off of the schedule, which will create a vacancy within that schedule. So those hours are now open. We're going to see the ability to page a coverage alert here. And this list of people has updated to qualified dispatchers. If you have any process or protocol for, let's say, mandating shifts for people, you would have the ability to drag and drop people directly onto the schedule. You can drag time back and forth and even split this between multiple people if you want to, or pull up multiple schedules. If we have people on, let's say, the night schedule, and we want to move people between schedules, as long as they're qualified to work in both places, you would actually have the option to shift them around. Switching gears here really quick, just looking at things from that member perspective. As a member here logged in as our person, Seth Brock, you will note that that dashboard switches up. So we're seeing less information here. This is only the information that's relevant to that person. If we go to the My Schedule page, you're going to note we don't have a member database. He's only seeing his own profile, and there's going to be options he does not have the ability to change, and that's because they're admin level controls. If we were to go to the monthly schedule view here, as long as he's allowed to see it, he will see himself highlighted on this schedule. If I were to flip over to somebody who is scheduled like Frankie Barber here, you'll see that his name populates highlighted across any day that he's working to draw attention to that. But ultimately, they're going to live in their My Schedule page, and this is usually where all their interaction happens. So they'll have controls to turn off and on different items on their calendar. So things like scheduled time or maybe events that they're a part of, maybe if they have time off or trades. And actions against their schedule are as easy as clicking on a shift and going through the processes of doing things like requesting vacation time or sick leave. We can have accruals turned on in the system if that's needed so that they can also see how many hours are in their vacation time bank and what is this going to cost them and what will the ending balance be. So you can have transparency on those sorts of things. Or you can go through and do things like request a trade and say, what type of trade do you want to send out? Do you want to send it to everybody who's qualified? Or maybe you had a conversation with Bob. And the logistical back and forth for the members happens here. So everything is recorded. There's documentation on everything that happens here. And administrators only have to step in when all that back and forth is done to give the final approval. So you can step out of those back and forth processes or paper trade processes. We can turn on things like open shifts, and if there's a vacancy on the schedule that they're allowed to work, they are going to have the option to click on that item and sign up for it. You can even allow partial shifts. So if you allow people to take, 4 hours of an 8-hour shift or 12 of a 24, they will have the option, if you allow them to pick a partial here. They can sync this over to personal calendars outside of the system. So if we're using Google Cal or iCal for the family, you can sync your work schedule over to that. But ultimately, where they're going to live is the mobile-friendly view of this site. So if I flip into the mobile view and kind of shrink my window down here for you a little bit, when Frankie pulls this up on his cell phone, he's going to come up to a landing page that's geared for a touchscreen device. So he can look at things like his own next few upcoming shifts. He can click on those and take action against them. He can sign up for trades that people have put out there if he's available to take them, or sign up for any open shifts in the next couple of days if there's something out there. And he'll see summary information here regarding his own time off and upcoming events. He will still have his full My Schedule page, so if we need to go out into the future, you can certainly do that and take action against your schedule, just like in the full site view. The other thing to note here is that the system does have the ability to collect passive availability. So if we have part-timers or volunteers, for example, who routinely give us a piece of paper that says, these are the days I'm available next month, they can actually go through and click the days they would like to mark themselves available and go through the process of selecting dates and times and send this over to the supervisory staff as a guide that can be used as you manually build your schedule. They will have the ability to look at things like their own My Information. They can see the daily summary for who's on shift with them for the day, if you allow them to see that. And as a supervisor, you're going to have all of those same items as well as some additional features here. So you can see things like that daily summary, but your paging capability is still visible to you in the mobile view. If we're looking at your dashboard, we're going to have all the same things that the members would have in the system, but you will have additional admin tasks. And those are going to be those items requiring your attention for approval or denial. And it's as easy as clicking on them and going ahead and approving or denying those options. If I hop back over to our full site view here, the last couple things I want to draw attention to is that we do have a forms tool out here, and these are able to be filled out from the mobile view as well. There is a library of over 200 different pre-built forms that have come from our customer base. So if you're looking for maybe a dispatch activity log or a call delay log, there's going to be a little bit of everything out here, and these are all fully customizable. You can simply go through and pull up any single one of these forms, like this coaching and counseling form, and make adjustments to it. We can rename, drag and drop, move things around, and really make this your own. You've got control over each independent form. So settings can be set for who can fill them out, who can look at reports, who can edit them. And there's notifications on a form level and a field level. So if somebody needs to know this got turned in, or maybe a certain field was answered a certain way, something's damaged or not working or needs to be ordered, certain answers can trigger notifications as well. You will have some reporting capability back here. So any form that you create in Aladtec does by default give you access to pull reports on the details of those. So if we were looking at something like this particular coaching form, any submission that was out here for any duration of time can be pulled into this singular view and exported. So if we have 10 years worth of reports on forms, you're going to be able to get 10 years worth of reports out of the system. We can look at things like a scheduled time report that's going to give you a breakdown of what people have worked over a period of time. We can also do things like isolate hours associated with certain schedules or positions, or maybe it's time types. Maybe we're looking at all the overtime that we've had in the last year. You're going to be able to turn off and on the different items you want, even limiting this by specific people or groups of people if you want to, using member filters, and run it for any duration of time you want to get that detail of information. You can then export or print those. You can look at things like summary reports that are going to give you kind of a total view of hours over a certain time frame. You will have the option to look at things like an approved trade hours report, so we can kind of see that net zero, make sure that people are giving up shifts and taking shifts in an equitable way, that they're not just giving up shifts and constantly sitting at a negative net value. There is payroll reporting out of the system. So if you would like to get your scheduled for pay information out to submit over to another payroll product, you would have the option to utilize this report for your specific pay period and pull this information out of the system. We can do things like define pay periods. We can add shift differentials, things like those time types dictating overtime versus regular time can all be customized to really help meet the needs of what needs to go to your payroll product. And there is a system log out here. So you will see a record with dates and timestamps for everything that happens in this system. So nothing gets moved, adjusted, tweaked, deleted without there being some record of that that you can backtrace at all times. There's 200 gigabytes of storage space out here. So if we want to put policies, documents, reference guides, anything that's helpful to staff on the go or to be consistently available off of an internal network, you can create folders out here and restrict those to different groups of people. This can be really helpful if you've got people moving around quite a bit or not sitting on a consistent computer. This would give them access to that space a little easier. And there is that discussions tab as well. So if we want to have thread style conversations with our staff, you can post topics and let people talk back and forth. These can be moderated, we can delete, we can lock, we can control what's being said here, but it can be a really helpful communication tool in some circumstances. And then finally, in my opinion, kind of the crowning jewel of the Aladtec product is that we have amazing support. So you will find in the help section of every system that there are videos, tech tips, blog articles on pretty much everything you could ever want to do in this system. Things like, I want to set up pattern-based scheduling or repeats and rotations. You're going to be able to see videos on how to do those sorts of things. Maybe advanced setup information. It's all going to be available to you at any time. But if you don't have the time to watch the video, we do have great support. So support is currently available via email, our toll-free number, and there is website-based chat as well. So whether it's a customer or someone who is evaluating the product for possible purchase, we do encourage you to always check out the support team if you have questions. They are all TCP Aladtec staff. An average turnaround time on a call into our system is less than a minute. So you're going to get a human being, you're going to get the help you need, and it's not a situation of take a ticket and we'll call you back in a few days. So that kind of brings us through the system. As we kind of look forward here, as I mentioned earlier, we do have demos available. So if you want to look at something like a generic demonstration, you are able to get those from our website, aladtec.com. Or you can connect with us directly to get a custom system built. If you really want to see that immersive experience, you can work with our team and we'll actually walk you through this process with a generic system, or excuse me, a custom system. So I think this kind of wraps us up today. I just want to take a few moments to thank you all for joining us. We really appreciate the time and the interest. If you have any additional questions, please don't hesitate to contact us. You can certainly reach out to support@aladtec.com if you have any questions, or call into our main number, and we can get you the help that you need, any questions you have. Thanks again for everything, and thank you, Anthony and Jesse, our master video person today, for kind of backing us up. So that kind of covers it all. I hope you all have a great day. Stay safe. And hopefully we'll talk to you soon.